private jets, if you don't know, definitely a luxury product.
Right, right, true.
And we're continuing on our theme of innovation, which was happening earlier, as well as the aviation. So say those twice back to back, as we were talking to Spirit Airlines. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Um, Earlier, you were on a panel talking about women in marketing, so thanks for that one. Can you give us a little bit more of your backstory? Because you had to share the spotlight. This time it's all yours.
Sure, sure. And thank you for indulging me and having me speak twice today. It's an honor and great to be a part of Brand Innovators. I just wanted to get a shout out because I've been to a number of the events and it's just so wonderful to meet with peers and have conversations and not just listen to panels, but also just to have informal networking opportunities. And so love Brand Innovators.
Yeah, we all love them.
Yeah. Yes, again, I'm Lynn Fischer, Chief Marketing Officer at EXO. We're a private aviation company. I've been with the company for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. I was working with, I might have mentioned earlier, other mobility companies in the tech space. And I say tech space because I think about EXO as a technology company almost as much as a private aviation company. I think we can talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely.
But worked with Lyft and City Bike, and then prior to joining EXO was at New Lab, and they are working with driverless cars and 3D printed engines for rocket ships and all kinds of amazing things that they're piloting there. I really think of EXO again as a technology company. We're transforming an industry is how I think about it by using data science and distinct service to allow you to travel almost anywhere in the world just by a few taps on your mobile device. So it's really transforming a legacy industry where you would need to contact, let's say, a salesperson and get quotes. And this is now instantly viewable, accessible, transparent, much more efficient way of private aviation. So we really have a mission to transform what we see as a kind of a legacy industry and making it more modern.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you said earlier, like, luxury is not the category where you generally see things changing. But as consumers, we all have evolved a lot. We were just talking about the younger generations and how they want things when they want it and the way they want it. But within the luxury category, haven't you found that to be the same?
Yes and no, because I think we've all seen strides with premium services and categories that are moving into areas that we didn't expect. So, also in a lot of ways, we see what we do as a part of the sharing economy. So, from people who own private jets are making a transition to sharing, whether it's chartering through XO, becoming a member, or really truly, I think, getting involved in the sharing economy through our semi private or shared flights, where you can purchase a seat on a private jet versus chartering the whole aircraft. So I think it's in line with, services that are taking luxury products, let's say like Rent the Runway, where you don't have to buy the gown for an event, but you can rent it for 3 days.
Yeah, it's a real interesting marketing opportunity because when many of us think about the shared economy, we're thinking about like a bunch of kids renting an Airbnb and bunking up together, right? So if you use that approach, not really going to work, right? So what are some of the ways that you're tailoring your go to market so that it feels more elevated and doesn't feel like that shared economy that we all know?
Right, right. So I think it gets down to positioning, which I spent a fair amount of time when I first joined the company in thinking about how do you blend a premium product with technology and innovation. And so we looked at what many of you in the room might know about is like the 12 archetypes of a brand. And it's connecting the brand to human behavior and human archetype. So we identified the creator brand for XO, which is more typical for a brand like Apple or Tesla than it is for, let's say, a Ferrari. And we feel like that is something that is still premium, like an Apple or Tesla, but someone will connect to it or feel like it's relevant because it's a company that's innovating, it's trying to do things differently, and it's something that they want to be associated with. So how do we do that? How do we allow that to lead us to the partners that we partner with, the events where we show up, the creative that we develop, and how more and more now we're thinking about how do we let the creators speak for us versus us saying we're creative and innovative.
Yeah, totally. One of the things I really enjoyed in our conversation, just getting to know each other, was the fact that EXO isn't just its own being. And you touched on the larger organization, but as you were talking about innovation and data informing your practices, your marketing, your ticket prices, or how you're doing your flights, tell everybody a little bit about kind of the larger organization and the fun fact that you come from an aviation family and are a pilot.
Right. So EXO is a part of Vista. It's our parent company. And Vista is one of the largest private aviation companies in the world. We have offices in London, Dubai, Malta, here in South Florida, which is where EXO's headquarters. Actually, we're also one of the largest growing or fastest growing companies here in the South Florida area. We have 350 aircraft across what's
Huge.
called, we call the Vista Members Fleet. And then EXO has also developed a platform that allows our customers to have access to a safety vetted fleet of about another 2,100 aircraft.
Put that in comparison on the Spirit scale. Like if you were listening before, that's huge
Right.
numbers of flights and airplanes.
So we think of it as a true marketplace, right? So if you think we're talking about the sharing economy, or the Uberization of certain industries, it really is a way for you to download the app, which I encourage you all to do. You can search by destination, you can search by cabin class.
Yeah, we actually have a demo. Because
We have a little
we do have a
demo.
little demo.
It's true, it's true. So, oh, here it is.
Here's the demo.
So shows you how easy and quick it is to access the app, search, book, choose aircraft type. If you had your credit card super handy, you can literally go through the process in less than 10 seconds.
I can't even book an Uber in 10 seconds.
So, and the interesting thing is when we talk about innovation, oh, by the way, it was interesting to hear that panel before and being inspired by what's happening on other platforms like TikTok or Twitter or Reddit. We were inspired to create that video from, I don't know if anyone knows the European kid on TikTok, but he's in the luxury space. He's a young person that creates a lot of content. He's like Stod guy, right? He created a video using EXO, and the kind of tongue-in-cheek piece was like the whole meme about getting water on your phone. But in fact, he booked a jet by mistake because that's how easy it was, right?
That's not a bad piece
With
of
his
social
father's
content.
credit card, yeah. But it went viral, and we thought like, I'm always a fan of talking about like the artificial intelligence behind what we do and the machine learning. But the fact is, what does it deliver for the end consumer? And it makes it seamless, it makes it easy, and in a lot of ways, it makes it fun to use, right? But there is a lot that goes behind the scenes to make that work, right? But so if you can imagine, we have a whole team of data scientists that look at the pricing algorithms so that we can feel confident in showcasing a price like you saw in that video for, let's say, citation 10 from London to Nice, and can give you a price that's instantly bookable.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
Right? And it may not be that interesting from a commercial airline perspective, from a private aviation perspective. This is something that's quite new and different.
I think it's super interesting and compelling only in that you think about like nobody's from Southwest, right? Like think about how big of a mess that became because they had some legacy software, then they couldn't get a plane from here to Arizona, and you're predicting where a plane's going to be able to fly me back to New York.
Exactly. Exactly. So not only are we looking at the pricing algorithms to give you an efficient price and a price that's guaranteed when you book it in the app, but also a proprietary software that is managing a floating fleet. So also historically, private aviation firms would have an aircraft that would have a home base, fly to one destination and fly empty or deadhead back to its home base, where EXO is a floating fleet. None of the aircraft have a home base, and that increases efficiency, better pricing, and frankly, better for the environment.
Yeah, sustainability is something that's really critical to the luxury and affluent marketplace.
Right.
So how have you used that as a part of your brand story, or even just a part of the ethos of who XO is?
Yes. And so private aviation, aviation in general, you can't say it's necessarily green industry or what we do, but what we are confident that and we're focused on is how do we make sure that we can be as efficient as possible. So our parent company has made a lot of strides and commitments to being carbon neutral company by 2025. How do we do that from decreasing single-use products in flight? How do we do that from efficient management of our floating fleet? But the other piece that we do that's unique in our category is that we have shared flights. So on average, a private aircraft has, I think it's 2.3 people on every flight, even though they could seat more. With our shared flights, we have on average 14 people flying on those flights. So if you can imagine that it's still a private service, you still have a luxury service, but we're giving you a more efficient way to do it from a price perspective. And then we're also decreasing the carbon footprint of the entire aircraft by having more passengers per flight.
Yeah, that's super cool. And are you using that within your brand messaging at all? Is that coming through to your end consumer and making that a part of your campaigns?
We do. We think about, if we think about core tenants, efficiency, accessibility, and transparency. So the efficiency is not only price for our flyers, but it also means how can we make the industry more efficient in everything that we do.
Yeah, that's super cool. And telling your brand story, it's a little complex, right? You have a very specific audience, a very specific consumer. Um, what's the way that you really get in front of those people? We talked a little bit about partnerships being a huge part of that. Can you tell us about your travel partnership that you developed with, what was the name of it?
Liqueur.
Liqueur. I didn't want to mispronounce it.
Sure. So we have about 50 different brand partners. And when we look at brand partners, we want to ensure that they have something similar in their DNA. One is, of course, like the cross pollination of our audiences. So in many cases, people who travel, people who are looking for elevated experiences. But in the case of Liqueur, it was also a group that we thought was on the forefront of, again, back to the sharing economy, not something that they were one of the first platforms to offer high-end villas on a platform for you to rent by the night, but still deliver all the experiences that you would expect if you might own a villa in the Caribbean or the south of France. So they have a whole portfolio of well curated properties with a team that can match you with the right property. So we felt like it was very much in line with what we do in matching our customers with the right type of aircraft and right itinerary. We can also partner with a villa company that has a platform that's we feel has been forward thinking.
Yeah, I think that type of partnership weaves this perfect through line of, the sharing economy that's not the sharing economy everyone thinks about, and sustainability and those things. So when you're looking at those partners or potential partners from other brands, like what's that kind of process look like? How are you vetting those partners?
So again, looking at do we feel like they are also innovative in their area? Is there an audience fit? But the other thing, in getting back to data science, we also look at our trends. So we have tens of thousands of searches on our app and our website on a monthly basis that tells us trends of not only where people are booking to fly private, but where they want to, right? So you can be forward thinking of seeing what demand might look like going forward by trend searches. So as an example, last year we looked at, we see a lot of search activity for Aspen. How do we make sure that we have a partner in that location that is also, in the same premium space as EXO and has the same value? So we partnered with St. Regis Aspen last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I think that's how we look at it. We look at trends, we look at data. We want to make sure that we are thinking of our customer as much as how we think we want to be perceived as a premium brand.
And I think that innovative approach to using the data in any way that you can, whether it's around managing your fleet or what your marketing activities is super cool.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking about this earlier, like even down to things like performance marketing, understanding how trends change seasonally. How do we make sure that we get ahead of that from our messaging and marketing and be agile with things like our search ads or paid social, and how we can tap into things like flying to Miami for F1 or
Art Basel or all the other great things.
exactly. Yeah.
That's a plug for Brand Innovators. I'll be back. uh, no, this is all super cool. I think that, my little plug is I think it's really critically important to bring these experiences to life using data and to try and tell that story in a meaningful way through your creative. And so like as a advertising partner, somebody that I would want to work together with, I think it's about doing those things, using data, innovative creative to tell your story digitally. I think is what we aspire to do. So we didn't touch on your little bit of historical background in aviation. So give us a little of your background that goes before
Sure.
working at EXO.
So I've worked in marketing for most of my career and working with agencies and premium brands, and most recently mobility and technology. And when this opportunity came around and someone contacted me and said, "Oh, would you be interested in talking to the Uber of private jets?" I thought, that's interesting because I've intentionally stayed away from aviation because my entire family is in aviation. And I thought, oh, well, okay, maybe now in my career it's time. But I grew up, my dad is a retired TWA pilot. My sister's a captain on the 777 for American. Her husband flies
Badass.
for United. My nephew just got hired by United. I'm a student private pilot. I have time in fixed wing and helicopter. So it was in my blood, but I felt like I intentionally maybe stayed away from it. But now this feels like just a great way to combine, my family, history, passion, data-driven company, a technology company, and private aviation is just like an amazing blend and great time for me and my career.
I love that. I think that's so powerful. And you actually were telling me that, like within aviation, having women, and to go back, little callback to earlier, women in marketing, women in aviation is a super rare thing too. So I think it's great to have you
Thank you.
represent.
Thank you.
I think we can open up for questions. Any questions?
Good. So Vista, the parent company, which EXO is a part of, we have what's called the Vista Members Fleet, and that's about 360 aircraft, all different cabin classes, from light, super mid to heavies. And then we have what we call an alliance fleet. So a safety vetted fleet of companies that we work with at the Vista standard level of safety vetting that EXO members have access to in the app. So if you were to download the app, you would see aircraft that might be within the Vista fleet that look familiar, like the silver and red aircraft. But you can also have access to, let's say, a light jet that might be one of our alliance fleet. So it really is truly a marketplace that delivers you the options, and that where we make it transparent about what you can expect when you work with us and fly with XO. Right, flying by the seat. Yeah. So we have, and that's how we think about it. Really, the full spectrum. If we think about the full Vista ecosystem, you can purchase a seat on a private jet. So between New York and South Florida, the seats are comparable almost to first class, right? But you're flying private terminal to private terminal.
We have a
The
loyalist back there.
pricing, but the experience is much better, right? Who's Scott Lerner, member, friend of XO, uses our service, and we hear from a lot of people who do business in both locations. Super convenient, right? Book in the app, pricing's comparable to first class, but the experience is much more elevated. Don't have to, you can show up 30 minutes before your flight. You're going to a private terminal. You have, a beautiful catered meal on China, which Doug has experienced. And so we really feel like it. It's true. And just talking about this earlier, there's something, and there's science behind this too, about when you're at a certain altitude, you have different ways of communicating. Your guards are down. I don't know if anyone knows this, but do you ever watch a movie on a plane and just sob? Like
Emotions run hot.
Emotions are high. Like I'm not, a crier typically, but like I will sob at movies, and it's because your emotions are heightened. And so there's something nice about that you have this intimate environment, your emotions are heightened, but it's also a vetted community of people where real connections can be made. What's that? Well, we've had a number of acquisitions in the past 2 years. Jet Edge, Air Hamburg, and now we're one of the largest private aviation companies with those fleets, those teams, those sales advisors. We are about 4,500 people worldwide, which is pretty amazing and still growing. So a great time to be at the company, great time to be in the industry. Yeah, come on over.
She's like, there it is.
Yes. We, you're right, and we hear time saving is the biggest benefit for many people. And for people who I would say maybe that can afford to fly private, I think in a lot of ways they see it as a utility, right? That it is time saving. It is also an experience where, especially during the pandemic, there were less touch points. It was safer, right? But funny that you mentioned that, because we are looking at, if we think about like marketers work closely with sales, I think like I'm like hip to hip with our chief product officer and work with him all the time. And I'm always picking his brain on data. And one thought we had was to really identify time savings. So like XO saved X number of our members, this amount of hours this year, because we agree that is a metric that people think about, and that is incredibly valuable. Sure.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you, everyone.